Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin, our Thanksgiving edition. And I am got a great crew here tonight, and they range from every place around the country. Welcome back, Jordan Long, all the way out in Colorado.
Thanks, Scott, for having me.
You're very welcome. Always glad to have you. And Jennifer, three chicks in a pod.
Woohoo! Three chips, baby.
What have you been up to tonight, Jennifer?
The Panthers had their annual Christmas tree lighting. So I have an annual tradition with my friends to come to it. So that's where we are. And then it's, as y'all know, I used to live uptown. So I still know the guy who owns the bar next door to us. So I asked if I could just come over here and do it. So y'all weren't staring out my sunroof.
There you go. All right. Well, we're glad to have you, Jennifer. We really are. And Steve Ballesteri, right a couple hours away down around I-75 out in southwestern Florida. Welcome back via New England.
Yes. Thanks for having me, Scott, as always. And it's great to see everyone here tonight.
And Mel Farr Jr. I always like to hand the rock off to Mel. And here we get another Thanksgiving together, right, Mel?
Yes, sir. How's everybody doing?
All right. Well, we have a really stacked agenda tonight. And when I mean stacked, I mean really stacked. So with that said, okay, we're going to start where we need to start. We're going to talk about the three best three or less winning teams. Now, over the last weekend, you can take the Detroit Lions and New Orleans Saints off that list. But I'm going to go around one at a time. This is because I know Jordan was talking about parity in the league, which makes me feel really good now that I have this topic on tonight's agenda. So with that said, Jordan, okay, I'll give you the particulars. You got the Cleveland Browns, Denver Broncos, LA Rams, Las Vegas Raiders, Chicago Bears, Pittsburgh Steelers, Carolina Panthers, Houston Texans, Jacksonville Jags, and don't make me go ahead and repeat it 9 million times, but there's a lot of teams, three or less on this list. All right, Jordan.
I have to say, looking at that list, it's amazing how many teams don't have 3 wins.
Yeah.
I mean, watching the Raiders last week against the Broncos, I mean, could they be the best team? I mean, they have a pretty good quarterback and pretty good wide receiver core. I wouldn't put them. Honestly, though, I have to go with Denver. I know I'm being a little biased, but here's why I say that. They have the best defense. All we need is a little offense. And if we get a little offense, then maybe we would be the best 3 team. But I have to go with the Broncos. I know we've had our troubles with Russell Wilson. I know I'm being a little biased because I am in Colorado. But what I saw last week when we made the switch to Clint Kubiak as the play caller, it looked a lot better in the first half. If we just could keep going in the second half, we'd be fine. So with that said, with our offense – just getting a little bit more in the second half, plus our defense being lights out, we are probably the best 3-win team.
Okay, Steve.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that because Denver's defense is legit. And like Jordan was saying, if they could just get a little offense. And, prior to the season starting, I mean, with Russell Wilson going there, we figured they were going to be pushing Kansas City, and it just hasn't worked out that way. So I'm going to go with Denver.
All right, Mel.
Yeah, I'm probably going to have to agree with that as well. We really thought, I thought at the beginning of the year that division was going to be a very, very tough division, the AFC West, especially with Russell Wilson coming over there. Josh McDaniel going over there from New England, thought he was going to do some things offensively that would help Derek Carr and obviously Devontae Adams over there. So we thought that was going to be a tough division, obviously with Kansas City and San Diego. Denver, yeah, they still do things pretty good defensively. I think they for whatever reason, it's just not clicking for them on offense. And obviously Pete Carroll's looking like a genius right now for unloading Russell Wilson for everything that they were able to acquire in that trade. But it's a lot more than Russell Wilson, I think, because they have a rookie coach there who probably is a little out over his skis, as far as being able to run an organization, a franchise at this time. He may be a good head coach at some point in time, but right now is probably not the time for him. Or either he needs to get some more coaches with some more experience, some guys who had head coaching experience to help him out a little bit, to help him try to run that organization. So I would have to agree with Denver.
All right, Jennifer.
I'll say Denver's defense is pretty solid. I think their game this week will be a testament to how solid against our defense. Because our defense is pretty lit. We did, until the last 4 minutes of the game, we were tied this past weekend, for example, with the Ravens, with Lamar Jackson's Ravens for 3 until the last 4 minutes of the game. So I do think this weekend will be very telling. Plus, I mean, you can't blame me. I didn't hire Baker. That's all I got to say. But we're going to, I mean, Denver's D is solid. Like, there's no debating that. Like, straight up, it's been the most defensive action-packed like nighttime games that we've had in years this season from Denver. Very kind of boring offensively, obviously, but I think this weekend will be fun.
So who are you going with, Jen?
Who do you think I'm going with, Scott?
Oh, I don't know. I just got to hear it from you, Jennifer.
Keep pounding, baby.
That's it. All right. Well, I just go ahead and
keep pounding.
There you go. I guess that means that's a Carolina Panthers endorsement, right?
Yes, I'm staring at the stadium right now.
There, that a girl.
Man, I miss living uptown.
Oh, there you go. That's all right. Hey, more power to you. You know what? Believe it or not, I'm going to throw a curveball at all you guys. I think the Bears. I really like, and the reason why I say the Bears is Justin Field is certainly a lot better than a 3-win quarterback. That's for sure. And I love this kid. I please give him some help. Justin Fields, but at least he's not playing in the Michigan-Ohio State game because you don't need to give him help there. Although the Wolverines will need a lot more help if Blake Corum doesn't play, but we're not even talking about that tonight. No, I'm going to go with the Bears. So you have 3 Denver, 1 Bears, and 1 Panther. All right. Well, Steve, you ought to be familiar with this one a little bit, okay? We're going to talk about Bill Belichick's coaching tree. 9 coaches is what we have here. Okay, so I'm going to go by records. The 9 coaches have a combined record of 222, 327, and 1. I will list the records because I think it's a pretty interesting list. Eric Mangini is 33 and 47. Matt Patricia, 13, 29, and 1. Ryan Flores, 24 and 25. Josh McDaniels, 14 and 24. Boy, aren't these really looking good, right? And don't worry, it only gets worse. Joe Judge, 10 and 23. Romeo Crennel, 32 and 63. And actually, the only one that's over 500 in this group is Bill O'Brien, 52 up, 48 down. Jim Schwartz, 29 and 51. Although he really did get a bad hand in Detroit, inheriting that mess that Matt Millen had. And, of course, Nick Saban, 15 and 17. And if you really want to take it even worse, you got Charlie Weiss in college, 41 and 49 with Notre Dame and Kansas. Now, I'm not holding the Kansas situation against Charlie Weiss because that's okay. But so when I look at any names, are there any names, Steve, on this list that should have been better than what I've talked about?
I thought Charlie Weiss was going to be successful because he was a great offensive coordinator. I think Brady owes a lot of his early success to Charlie Weiss. The years before he really became the Brady we know now, the first couple of years he was on the team, Weiss mixed things up, and I thought he was going to be the guy. Romeo Crennel's a really good defensive coordinator, but I don't think he was a good head coach. I wasn't surprised with Matt Patricia because I think he was too in love with the Belichick persona where he thought he could go in on day one and run the show like Belichick does. You have to earn that. You have to earn that because like when Belichick walks down the hallway, these guys know, he's been in the league 48 years, so he's seen it all.
Yeah. And
you just can't walk in on day one and start barking around like, you're the big cheese, you're a first-time head coach. And I thought he was too married to that Belichick, persona.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that was going to fly.
So who's your main pick then?
I would have to say McDaniels.
Okay.
I thought, he learned from the first time when he was with Denver. He tried to do the same thing. And I thought he was going to be very successful. We saw him in the preseason. They had joint practices together. And I was thinking, this Raiders team is going to be really good. And they haven't been at all.
Some activity in the chat room. Jeremy Ulrich, looking forward to having you in tomorrow night's edition of Sports Exchange. Troy Gary, thank you very much for being a part of it. And Troy, Gary, and Jeremy are the stars of the chat room right now. All right, with that said, I'll turn it over to Jordan.
It's a very, very interesting list. I mean,
exactly.
the thing that I look at that is, I mean, of course, I thought Josh McDaniels would do amazing things in Denver. Didn't happen. And like Steve was saying, I thought he would be much better with the Raiders. But what that list actually tells, I love Romeo Crennel as a defensive coach, not a very good head coach. What that tells me is Bill Belichick is a great head coach, but if you look at his coordinators who have gone on to be head coaches, they're better off being coordinators. And we've seen that with a lot of guys. But I'm really surprised that Josh McDaniels is not better than he is. I thought also going to the Raiders that he would actually help Derek Carr. Plus, they had Devontae Adams. It didn't seem to help out, but just a very interesting list to show that Bill Belichick is one of the greatest head coaches, or the best head coach to ever coach. That none of his, coaching tree has done that well.
Well, look at Dom DeRuga. He's really rolling. McDaniels yet another broken twig up the non-existent.
He must be a Raiders fan.
Dom's on a roll. Proximity to greatness does not equal greatness. All right, Dom, you're on a roll, my friend. All right, so go ahead. Give it to me again, Jordan.
I'd have to just say that I would go with Josh McDaniels as the best one, even though that list, still isn't very good. But again, they're better off being coordinators. But I think Josh McDaniels in his second stint, yes, it's not going the way they want in Las Vegas, but I think in a year or two, if he gets that opportunity, he'll turn that ship around.
All right, Mel.
Yeah, I think it's definitely Josh McDaniels. I listened to him earlier in the year in an interview that he had. It looked like he learned a lot from his first time around when he had the opportunity at Denver. So I was really surprised that how they're playing right now. It shows a lot. As you guys were saying, it says a lot about Coach Belichick. But the other thing it also says is that not all great coaches, offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, position coaches make great head coaches. Not everybody is a great leader of men. You have to be a great leader of men, not only the players, but also your coaches as well. And not everybody is able to do that. Now, even just because you can design all the plays and you're a whiz kid at designing plays or some kind of new wonder kid doesn't make you a great head coach. I'm really looking to see what's going to happen in Miami. Right now, they're scheming a lot of things. They're winning. They're playing good football right now. But I mean, this guy doesn't inspire me at all. And listening to him talk, I don't know how he holds. Unless he's entirely different in a team meeting than he is with the press, which. We know Bill Belichick is obviously he's a lot different, I'm sure, in the team meeting than he is with the press. But unless I'm missing something here, I don't know. Miami's really surprising me at how well they're playing with this guy.
He's kind of an odd duck when you hear him in his press conferences.
Yeah, looks like like we talked about. I mean, the kid, Back to the Future. I mean, he just It amazes me, and all the guys have bought in. They say great things about him. So we'll just have to see how that goes. But my point is, with Charlie Weiss and all these guys, and I think Charlie Weiss was overrated in the beginning. I think Tom Brady helped out Charlie Weiss a lot more than Charlie Weiss probably helped out Tom Brady, to be honest with you, because of the success that the Patriots had. He was able to parlay that into the Notre Dame job, and hell, I mean, they might have just got done finished paying Charlie Weiss here not too long ago.
All right, so Mel, my question to you is, who of this list, who are you taking again? I don't know if I caught it the first time.
Josh McDaniels. Okay.
All right. Well, tell you what, Don DeRubis is on a roll. If we had a 6 spot, he'd be on it. But no, it's spot on, especially in Detroit, outside of my guy Wayne Fonts, all these coordinators that gave head coach job to have been mediocre and awful. So Good stuff there, Dom. Missed you last night, but boy, we're getting you tonight. This works just as well. All right, Jennifer.
I mean, I'm going to go with everybody else, Josh McDaniels. I mean, think about the hot mess that he walked into with the Raiders.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to take some time to build. I know Devontae Adams isn't that impressed with him as of yet, but he's kind of made that clear. But I think if Josh took another season or two, and as long as there's improvement and as long as people are paying attention and like buying in the locker room, then they'll be fine. He'll be fine. I think the Raiders have it, but I think it'll be interesting if he does end up trading Derek Carr, as did the rumors I read, I think, yesterday.
The Raiders were a playoff team last year, weren't they?
Under Rick Versace, the special team.
Yeah.
They weren't too much of a hot mess.
Yeah, you bring in Gruden, you bring in car accidents, DB. Yeah, they were kind of a hot mess off the field.
They had some character issues, but as far as their play on the field, they're a pretty good football team. They're a solid football team, and they got pieces. I mean, they got a quarterback, they got a running back. They run the ball pretty well. They got some guys that can get after the passer, and then they spent all that money to bring in a big time wide receiver, and they already
Derek Carr's buddy. I mean, I think they have it there. I mean, I remember Derek Carr and Devontae Adams in college. I remember seeing that, and I don't remember a lot of combos because I kind of got lost in all the college football stuff because every school has a team. But I think that they'll be fun. I think there's some people who weren't happy that McDaniels came, to be honest with you, and they didn't keep. I'm sorry, Mel, you just said the interim head coach's name from last season. What was his name again? I apologize.
Rich Versace was the guy.
Thank you. I think a couple of people were upset they didn't keep him because he did a solid job with everything that was going on off the field.
Well, I mean, what ended up happening is Mark Davis went with the sexy pick is what he did with Josh McDaniels, thinking he could recreate magic there is what he did. And so far, the results haven't been good. I'm going to throw a name out there that nobody's brought up, but I have my reasons for doing it. I'm going to put Jim Schwartz out there because he inherited a young Matt Stafford and walked in there and inherited a winless team. And they had a little success in the playoffs, and thankfully Jim got a Super Bowl championship under Doug Peterson with the Eagles. So, he should have been better. Unfortunately, the biggest thing, and Mel and I, everybody knows, once you leave the Lions as a head coach, you don't get hired. And that was the only thing to me that doomed Jim Schwartz. If there's ever a guy who I thought deserved a second head coaching job, aside from Jim Caldwell, it would have been Jim Schwartz. It never happened. So I'm going to throw Jim Schwartz out there. I really am. So take it for whatever it's worth. But he had a young and Ndamukong Suh, who was obviously, to me, a guy that certainly know how to step on a few people here and there, and was always in the principal's office. I know Steve's laughing at me for this one. Every time you turn around, he was in Roger Goodell's office, and Jim Schwartz was sticking up for him. So it was unreal. I mean, that's when the Lions were really fun back then, when they were getting into the playoffs and all that business. So, man, we got a great we got Kerry Johnson chiming in, Jacob Christner. Look at this, all this lovely Thanksgiving cheer hanging out there. Caldwell didn't deserve a first head coaching job. I guess Tom doesn't like him. So, but I'm going to say Jim Schwartz would be my pick. So, all right, let's go on to our next topic. Early impressions of Jeff Saturday's hiring. Wins 25-20 against the Raiders, but then had a 17-16 loss to Philadelphia. Steve, I'm going to lead off with you on this because I don't think you were on this show when Saturday was on. So what do you think about Jeff Saturday, Steve?
When they first hired him, I thought that was an absolute blunder. The guy didn't have any coaching experience beyond, I think, high school level. I mean, granted, he was a tremendous player when he was in the NFL, but, like Mel said, it takes a lot to be a head coach. But I think after, they had that meltdown there with Frank Reich and, I think he just kind of came in and settled everyone down. They played two really good football games. Yeah. So I don't know if he's the long-term answer. I kind of doubt it. But for now, he's filling the shoes, and he's done a really good job. I mean, I thought they were going to get blown out the first week. I thought they were going to lose this week again, but they've proved people wrong.
Well, what Jim Irsay did was he took the analytics out of it and said, you know what? Forget about analytics when other guys panic. Okay. He didn't even care. He knew what the guy's character was. Obviously, he's in the Ring of Honor, won a Super Bowl, so he knows the Colts lay of the land. And more importantly, what's interesting about Saturday, he was a consultant, so it's not like he didn't know what was going on. But that said, Jordan, early impressions of Jeff Saturday.
I'm with Steve. I didn't like the hire, but you know what? When you make a coaching change, that inspires the football team. And they obviously put Matt Ryan back in at quarterback, which I was also surprised because I heard, oh, they're not going to have him until if they weren't going to start him for the rest of the season. Well, whatever's gone on there, Jeff Saturday has provided a spark. They're playing inspired football. Whether or not, like Steve said, whether or not he's the long-term answer, I don't know. But they're playing inspired football. They're playing better football. That's all you want, is to see a team play better. And I've been impressed with what Jeff Saturday has done with the Colts.
Okay. What do you think, Jen?
Okay, so I'm somewhat different. I actually loved Jeff Saturday coming in as a coach, but here's the reason why. I have a very, 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 very close friend who knew him very well at Carolina, and they haven't talked in like 20, 30 years, whatever. But the impact that Jeff Saturday made in my friend's life, like my friend still speaks very glowingly about him. I'm just sad I never met him, but like, I mean, I know, like, the quote that my friend said was, he was easily the most positive person I've ever encountered in my life, more so than you. He said, and he's a leader. He's the leader of everyone, and people look up to him. He's one of the best motivational people I've ever met in my life. And I said, okay. And this was right when it was announced he was hired. And I asked my friend, I was like, can I use your name and quote on my show tonight? And he goes, no. He goes, I haven't talked to him in over 20 years. I said, okay, fair enough. So that being said, I'm really happy for Jeff Saturday. He made an impact on several of my friends' lives in a very positive way. I thought it was going to be a good call because I feel like, and I mean, I had no problem with Frank Reich, but sometimes you just lose your, sometimes you just grow stale when you're with an organization for too long. I don't know how Belichick hasn't, but Steve, like you said, you got to be a leader of men. And that's what Jeff Saturday is. That's why he was the right man for this job.
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting is I hope we don't have a new trend coming here where they just start taking guys and plucking them away from the broadcasting booth. But if Jeff Saturday has any kind of success and then you take away the fear factor of the analytics, my goodness, who knows what's going to happen. But the guy said, you know, I'm not only auditioning for this job, but 31 others. So, you know, obviously the Colts are going to have to go through the process to make sure the Rooney Rule is in place, that they have to adhere to it. But, you know, I watched Jeff on the shows that he was on ESPN, and this guy knows his stuff. I love his energy, his passion. And, you know, energy and passion can go out there and be contagious, especially inside of a locker room, as both Steve and I know for working in there, Mel obviously being a part of it. You know, when you cover it, you know exactly what you have. And by the way, Dom, thanks. I ended up, this Atari hat that I'm wearing was one of my $3 or $4 specials over at the truck stop on my way back at a truck stop.
Scott, there's a T-shirt I want to get you from Charlotte. It'll match their Atari hat.
Well, that sounds good to me. I'll go ahead and text you the address. But no, you never know what kind of good hat you're going to come up with, especially when we start getting sponsors out. We'll have the hat of the day presented by Boom. I've done that on other shows, but yeah, thanks, Tom. I appreciate it. Atari, I never really played it very good. Then again, I don't know if I ever played those games any good except for the little football game, the handheld one, but won't get me started there. But no, I mean, let's face it, the reality of the situation with Saturday is he took an unconventional route there. It was not like the guy didn't know anything about the game of football at all. He did. Mm-hmm. It's just a situation where he took an unconventional route, and his owner said, you know, I've been building teams before. Well, yeah, I mean, and the one thing they can't do with Indy is they can't question Indianapolis's ability to hire minority candidates, because Tony Dungy won a Super Bowl there, and then Jim Caldwell followed it up with a Super Bowl trip. So you can't question Irsay there. So, yeah, you know, I applaud the hire to some extent. So, you know, but let's, you know what, Dom, we're going to put your comments out there to hear. Indy, read them out there. Indy's problem is this: they finally got the team they didn't have with Andrew Luck, and now they don't have a quarterback that isn't double dipping NFL paycheck and Social Security check. Boy, I'll tell you, Don, you need a reaction, Mr. DeRubis. This guy's he's good. Don't worry. DeRubis is really unbelievable on fire at Michigan. This guy's unbelievable. And Tina Lewis, happy Thanksgiving to you as well. We appreciate you. But Dom DeRubis, Steve and Mel, I don't know if you've met him yet, but I know Jordan and Jen know this guy is off the charts. Dom is a guy.
I love Dom.
Oh, yeah. Well, Jennifer introduced me to Dom. But Mel, I'll tell you.
Jordan's all right.
Yeah, we'll have to bring you on a time, Mel, if you have an opportunity to be with Dom, and we'll even have a 5-man booth just so you can meet him. Everybody gets a crack and fire up Michigan with Dynamite Dom DeRubis. This guy is definitely one of those. But I think it's safe to say that the early impressions of this hiring, I probably hopefully speak for all of us that it's so far so good, right? You guys all agree on that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Well, we'll speak of the Eagles, okay? With their 32-21 loss to the Washington Commanders on Monday Night Football a week ago, are they better off with that one loss? All right, Mel, you played the game. Tell us what you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, running the table is difficult in the NFL. That's something that some college teams are able to do, but running the table in the NFL team in the NFL is extremely difficult, obviously, because it's only been done once in the history of the game. Other than if you want to say the Patriots, when they did what they did, they end up losing in the Super Bowl. So yeah, a loss is good. Gives you an opportunity to take a look at where you guys need to get better at, what you did wrong. Everybody can stop believing the press clippings. We're so great. We're this, we're that, and just get back to work and taking it one day at a time, one game at a time. And pretty soon, when you lift your head up, you take a look back and you see what you've done. Whether you won all 17 or whether you went 16-1 or 15-2, it really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you want to be playing well in the postseason, not necessarily during the regular season. A lot of times teams play real well in the regular season. They get to the postseason and they just kind of fall flat in their face. Green Bay's done that a few times, gone 13-3, and then 1-out or 2-out. So the key is you want to be constantly improving. You want to kind of be doing this throughout the season. And if you have a little hiccup during the season, that's okay. That's all right. Regroup, dust yourselves off, and get back in that groove again. Which they did this past weekend. So, I think and they made a couple nice signings this weekend too to shore that defense up. So I like Philadelphia. I like what they're doing. Obviously, we still have a lot of season left. San Francisco's playing well, although they've gotten some people healthy, and they've added a piece there that makes them very dynamic. So the NFC is shaping up, and obviously the Cowboys and what they did to Minnesota this weekend, which I don't think anybody saw coming. The NFC East division, which we called the NFC least earlier, or I did, is turning out to be a pretty good division. Washington's playing good football. The Giants are playing good football, despite losing to our Lions this past weekend, but they've been playing inspired football as well. So NFC East is playing good football, and for them to be have only one loss and they're having to play those teams in the NFC East says a lot about them.
Well, and Dominic and Sue being added to the Eagles certainly is going to bolster their defense. All right, Jennifer.
Joseph, too.
Oh, yeah. Well, all right. With that said, Steve, what do you think about the Eagles losing?
Yeah, and sorry, man. When I laughed a minute ago, I wasn't laughing. I was laughing at Dom's comment over in the section there.
Yeah, he'll do that to you. Don't worry, Steve.
I saw that pop up and I cracked up laughing. But
I got news for you. Make yourself available on Monday night, and every one of you guys gets a crack at Dom. Dom is certainly earning a little bit of credibility with this panel.
It's like Mel was saying a minute ago. I mean, it's really hard to run the table in the NFL. And, the coaches, when teams are, on a streak like that, where they're undefeated, they try to play it down. And, they try to get the guys, as Belichick always says, ignore the noise. Don't listen to the media. Don't read anything. But invariably the players do. And this loss for the Eagles is probably a good thing because Now it takes everything else out of the equation. And like Mel said, get back to going to work, bring in your lunch pail, and it's one game at a time. We're just worrying about who we're playing on Sunday, and everything else will take care of itself. And
well, you dealt with it firsthand yourself, Steve. Think about it. Okay, the New England Patriots won everything but the Super Bowl, unfortunately, and that's what happened. And you know what? Miami Dolphins are the only undefeated champions back in 1972, and that's one record they can be happy about. But unfortunately for the Dolphins, they won 2 Super Bowls in the 70s and haven't done anything since to go back deep into the playoffs in quite some time. And I'll be talking about them momentarily. But what do you think, Jordan?
I think honestly it's a good thing, because if they were 16-0 going into that last game, there'd be so much pressure to actually win a football game. You honestly, like Mel was saying, you want to play better in the playoffs. That's the goal, is to get to the playoffs and play your best football there. You don't want to do it in the regular season. So I honestly think this was a great thing for them. They'll learn from it and they'll move on. You can get back to work. When you're 16-0, 15-0, looking at, we have this many games to go undefeated, the pressure just mounts. Now that the pressure is off, to match the Dolphins, who went in the 70s going undefeated, now the pressure is off to say, okay, we can refocus. Let's get back to work. The ultimate goal here is to win the Super Bowl, not go undefeated.
Well, speaking of that, we have a Dolphin fan, Beth Truesdale Greenberg. Yay, there you go, Beth. Thanks a lot for being a part of the broadcast. We had a lot of great people here. Very thankful that our chat room has been very active, and want to thank each and every one of you that have been a part of the chat room. We send our love and Thanksgiving wishes to everyone for taking their time tonight to join us. All right, Jennifer, give me your take on the Eagles.
I think it's a good thing, because I remember when the Panthers did 15-1 after we lost to the Falcons. Ron Rivera came out and said, "Hey, I've been losing sleep on how to keep the streak going, and when we were going to lose our first game, now I can sleep tonight." So it's a good thing, because everybody does want to improve as the season goes on. So plus, I kind of like Washington because, half my team's there. The other half's in Buffalo.
Yeah, well, I guess I definitely call this a major majority. I think the Eagles losing one time, to me, it's fine. Now the coaches have an opportunity to look at film.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, the thing is, I love about Jalen Hurts. This kid's been a winner wherever he's gone, whether it's Alabama, Oklahoma, and, at the highest levels of college. Well, okay, now we have to look at ourselves in the mirror. And we lost one time. Now we have to look ourselves in the mirror and see what happens. Go ahead, Jen.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. The Eagles also have to learn how to play in the second half.
Right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, because that's been bothering me.
Jen, you're okay. But no, the reality is Jalen Hurts said it himself. We lost the game. First taste of adversity, not the worst thing on the planet. All right.
Okay.
And Beth, this topic is for you, okay, as well as everybody else, because we are talking about the Miami Dolphins. Boy, we have some unbelievable segues tonight, and I got some history for you. Not American history. We're going to call it Miami Dolphins history, okay, Beth? So if you're still with us, okay, you can watch the show 9 million times in case you need to get it all right, because there's a lot here. All right. The last time the Miami Dolphins were 7-3, that was 24 starting quarterbacks ago, 8 head coaches, 7 stadiums ago. The Miami Heat had no titles. LeBron was in high school. The iPad had just come out. The iPhone was 6 years away. Tua was 3. Boy, now I'm really feeling the age card. Mike McDaniel was a freshman, and Tom Brady was a rookie. Yes, Steve, keep your hand over your head, because if I didn't have a hat, I would be doing it there. So I gave you guys a lot to bite on, Steve. So since you volunteered by putting your hand over your head, how do you compile those apples, my friend?
That's a pretty long time ago. 24 quarterbacks ago. That's insane. They've gone through a lot of quarterbacks. I didn't know it was that many. So if it was when Brady was a rookie, it was 2000. And wow, that's a long time since the Dolphins had a 7-3 record. That's legitimately crazy. I know, in the early 2000s through probably the mid 2000s, they were struggling, but I didn't think they had been struggling that long.
Well, as Gomer Pyle would say, and I'm not watching it tonight because I'm with my favorite group here. Surprise, surprise, surprise. I don't know how good my Gomer Pyle imitation is, but my wife is laughing. Saying, where did you get a quarter in you? Oh, come on. We'll put $1 in me. Surprise, surprise, surprise. But that said, Jordan Long.
Yes, sir, Sergeant.
That's it. Oh, I love that show. One of my favorite shows. Anybody have any Gomer Pyle memories? Put them in the chat room. Everybody else is chiming in. Add to the Gomer Pyle stuff. All right, Jordan, give me your Miami Dolphins take. Before you do, though, Jay Fiedler was one of them, and he was the guy that beat the Dolphins like 62 to 7 in the playoffs that ended Dan Marino and Jimmy Johnson's career, basically. So sorry, Dan, not going to win any friends. Then again, I never cared for you anyways. And I'm not alienating Dolphin fans, but he kind of rubbed me the wrong way at his Super Bowl. But anyways, that's a lot of quarterbacks and a lot of stuff. So, all right, Jordan, let's see where are you going to I'm handing you the rock with the Dolphins. Where are you taking it, Mr. Long?
I will say it does not surprise me that it was 2000. It surprised me how back it was. But like you were saying, they've gone through a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of coaching changes. There hasn't been stability with the Miami Dolphins until now. Now they're actually starting to win, but I just can't believe it's been that long. But you know what? Good for them. They finally have turned it around. The question is, though, at 7-3, can they keep it going? But like you said, it's been since 2000. That just blows me away.
Well, that's why I brought it in the show. I said, when I say this is a Thanksgiving special, I mean it. And you know what? I'm going to go to Jennifer. Then I'm going to go back around one more time and ask each and every one of you which one of these things stood out. But before I do that, let's go to Jennifer. What do you think, Jen?
I think they're doing a good job. I think they're building a lot on what Flores had started last year, at the end of last year. Because if everybody remembers, the Bens were really injured at the beginning of 2021. So I think they're doing a great job. I think it's time for them to have a good season. I just hope it doesn't put us in a parallel or an alternative universe like it did when the Cubs finally won a World Series.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to start with you, Jennifer. I gave you all these facts here. Of the ones that I mentioned, which one stands out in your mind, Jen?
Honestly, you made me feel really old with the whole iPads and Brady was a rookie.
All right, so you can have feelings, Jen. Hey, Jen, this whole thing is probably making us all feel very old. The only one that it wouldn't probably make feel old would be Will Vogel because he hadn't been around long enough.
That's probably true.
Will Vogel is probably the only one that wouldn't, and nothing against Will. I love the guy. Don't get me wrong. And the kid has a whole lot of potential as a broadcaster, but he's the only one that wouldn't feel old knowing full well we have a loaded deck here. So, all right, you got yours. All right, Mel, which one of these stats stands out?
Well, when you talked about the number of stadiums, but I mean, you have to realize, I mean, the Miami Dolphins, they haven't been that great the last 20 some odd years. Saying 7-3, I mean, they've had some other successful seasons where they've won 11 games, 10 games. Heck, I mean, I think even Flores won 10 games 1 year. Now, they may not have been 7-3. Heck, I don't know. They might have been 8-2. I don't know. I don't know exactly what the record was at the 10-game mark, but they haven't been they haven't been extremely successful over the last 20 some odd years. We understand that. It's been very difficult for Miami because they haven't been able to shore up that position since Dan Marino left, and they've been looking for somebody to replace Dan Marino ever since he left, and that's been difficult for them. They think they found somebody now with Tua and in combination with the head coach they have there and the weapons that they brought in. So, the future's looking bright for them. But I forgot how many stadiums you said that was ago. How many stadiums you said that was?
Oh, I'm looking at it right now. It looks like 24 stadiums, not 24 stadiums. I should say 7 stadiums. You have 7 stadiums. But the one thing about that stadium thing I should point out is they've only played in 2 buildings, but they've had the sponsors have changed in the stadiums as well. So it's a stat that I picked up on. But again, the sponsors to me change the stadiums around, but it's interesting. But but to answer your question, you got 7 of them there.
Oh, so you're talking 7 different stadium names.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
Well, but that's how it was listed. That's where I pulled it. 7 stadiums.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
whether it's Hard Rock, Dolphin Stadium, Blockbuster, I think, whatever. I don't know what they
wasn't it called? What's Jimmy Buffett? Wasn't it called that stadium one particular time? What's Jimmy Buffett's famous song?
Sun Life is one of them. I don't know if that's the one.
Margaritaville?
Yeah. Oh no, I guess it wasn't called that.
Well, like I said, there's 7 stadiums. I didn't really go deep into the research. All I know is they mentioned 7 and basically just 2 actual addresses. But Don Narubis is on a roll anyways. First of all, we got to go back to Don because this guy's on a roll. And you and Steve and Mel, just so you know, we will schedule a future edition of Fire Up Michigan just to meet this guy. He's definitely worth it. But yeah, let's go ahead and catch up with Dom here. Okay, Will Vogel wasn't born, so there you go. That I don't know where he got his birth certificate, but it doesn't take a whole lot to figure out the baby face that we have in Will Vogel. And
Will's 30.
I know, is he according to Will Vogel? According to Dom, I
Who's my buddy? I gotta protect him. I protected him in all these Hornets games. They gotta stay with it. You know?
No, it don't matter. We're just gonna have
I know.
anyways.
I know. I don't mind.
Well,
I'm actually smiling right now.
But all these stadiums got Hard Rock, Orange Bowl, Dolphin Stadium, Margaritaville. All right, whatever. I wonder about some of the actual minority owners, but we're not going to get into that. So, all right, but which one stands out with you, Mel?
Oh, the stadiums. When you said the stadium, that's that's
all right. That's all right. Okay, Steve, what do you think, pal?
I just think of the 24 quarterbacks.
Yeah, right. That. Yeah,
I mean, that's insane.
Well, the Chicago Bears haven't found a quarterback since the 40s, so it doesn't matter. So, I mean, and I know George's laughing at me a little bit there. We thought we had one in Jim McMahon. By the way, he did win a Super Bowl, but they didn't think he was good enough anyways. So they brought in Doug Flutie. But all right, Jordan, give me your take on this one.
I have to go with Steve. The 24 quarterbacks, it just shows you don't have stability at that position, or didn't.
Well, the one I'm going to go with is actually Tua was 3 years old. How about that?
Yeah.
2 of them 3.
I try to ignore that fact, Scott. Stop reminding me, dude.
I'm sorry, but it is what it is. 2 of being 3. You know what? I got a great topic I initially hadn't planned on putting in here. But boy, I think this show is going so well that I'm going to go out there and have some fun with it. And I got the right crew to do it. So let's talk about Tom Brady for just a moment. Could you imagine him playing the CFL with a wider, deeper field? My goodness. I mean, holy moly. All right, Jordan, you get first crack at this one.
Could I see Brady? I mean, he'd have success. He got a wider field, but there are a couple of more. There's one guy more on the field. Brady would have success. I mean, with the way he releases that ball, you don't have to go very, long routes. You just have to do, a 4 or 5, curl route and just throw it right to him. I mean, Brady would actually be very successful in the CFL. Would he be as successful as the NFL? Who knows? But the thing is, though, he would still be successful just because of the way he gets rid of that football.
Yeah, all right. So you think he'd be successful CFL? All right, Jennifer, what's your take on Brady and the Canadian Football League? And for whatever it's worth, folks, the Toronto Argonauts did defeat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to win the Grey Cup.
So this is a what if he never played for Belichick?
No, and this has nothing to do with that.
Okay.
I'm just asking
just if he did ever go there. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Tom Brady. He'd have success anywhere.
Okay, fair enough. Remember, it's a 3-down situation and they go wide, and some of these crazy rule changes where you get 2 points all the way to the back. I'm not getting into that stuff. There are other people that can do that. What do you think, Steve, about Tommy north of the border?
Yeah. I think he'd be successful anywhere, and the wider field would play more to his strengths, where he likes to stretch the field horizontally. That's always was the MO in New England. So I think that would help him out. But I think he'd be successful anywhere.
What about you, Mel?
Yeah, I think he'd definitely be successful. I mean, you got the wider field. You also got the guys can get a running start down the field too with their motion. So I mean that's going to help little quick guys in that little quick game that Tom Brady loves to check those check down receivers or those option route kind of guys. I mean, could you imagine a guy like Wes Welker or getting a running start and then doing all that stuff that they do to get open? I mean, that Yeah, I mean, but we know that Tom Brady would be great. It wouldn't matter how many people. It was 7-man ball. He's going to be great in that. He's great in 11-man ball, so we know in 12-man ball he's going to be great too, because I think that gives you an extra receiver out there as well. So yeah.
Well, the only reason I brought this topic up is he's won in every country that he's played in, right, Steve? Now he added Germany to the list. Didn't he play in Mexico? Didn't he play in England?
Yep, they won in Mexico a few years ago against the Raiders.
Right.
He won in England a couple of times.
Right. So
and now Germany.
Right. And so I was just having some fun with this topic just today. I might as well stick him in Canada than everywhere else. And I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that Tom Brady would definitely he'd have a lot of fun there. Would he win 5 Grey Cups like Warren Moon? I don't think he'd stay there long enough to win 1 or 2. He just wanted to go out there and throw the ball, as my old friend many years ago in Miami. And I like to mention the Miami reference. My old friend who used to be a sports anchor, Andy Lascano, described a home run. Where did he hit it? Deep. And that's exactly what would happen with a lot of Tom Brady's balls. So yeah, yeah, Tom, you do all right there. I wouldn't be surprised if he ever goes out to Canada for 1 year just to have a lot of fun. At this point, this guy doesn't seem to show any signs of slowing down. So Tommy, if you want to go to Canada,
put Dom's comment up.
Which one? Oh, you're talking about this
one where Brady? No, not that one. The other one.
All right,
the one right above.
Oh yeah, Brady can be because of the. Oh, that was good. Oh my goodness, Dom. If I've ever seen a man on a roll, you are definitely it tonight, my friend. All right, well, it obviously means that Dom wants Mel and Steve to come on a Monday night, so we have to work that out really soon in the coming weeks before we take our little break. So good stuff, Dom. You are on a roll for all the right reasons. All right. Good stuff. All right. Well, with that said, so I guess it's safe to say we'd all love to see Tom Brady north of the border. All right. Let's get on to some more serious stuff, but I had to have a little lighthearted stuff in here. Zach Wilson's post-game press conference did what to his career? I'll let you guys fill in the blank. All right, Jordan.
It hurt his career. I mean, he's didn't really give a huge, big response to why the struggles. I mean, it's on him. And right now, I think it's hurting his career because of the fact that, the defense played lights out. He didn't have a really good comment. It's hurting his career.
Okay, Steve?
I think he lost his locker room. We were talking about this offline before the show, and, you have professionals in there that are giving their all. And, when you're the quarterback, whether you want to be or not, you're the face of the franchise. And when you go out there and don't take any accountability for your game, and he was awful, okay? And now I'm a Patriots guy. I'm going to give all the credit to their defense, but Zach Wilson was awful. 9 of 22, 44 net yards passing, 2 yards total offense in the second half. I mean, that is awful. So when they're asking you as the quarterback, do you feel like you let your defense down? The right answer is, because all your other players are listening, and Mel can attest to that. He's been in those locker rooms, and he was like, yeah, I let everyone down, and it's a team effort. We need everyone to get on board and, work through this. The answer wasn't no. I mean, that's awful. And then, when he found out a couple of his wide receivers were really frustrated and the media brought that up to him, the answer should have been, well, we're all frustrated. We're just trying to work through it. Instead, he said, well, I get frustrated with them too. That's not the way for a leader to act. I think he lost his locker room. And, his defense has been playing lights out. In both games against the Patriots, they had a combined 12 sacks, and they lost both games.
What about you, Mel?
Another guy I wasn't very high on. Media pumped him up. I don't know. Then he had that one little workout where he whirled around and threw that pass 50 yards, and everybody was all enamored by it. Man, it was on air. I mean, who cares? I mean, I can chuck a ball. I can run around and chuck a ball 50. Well, I used to be able to chuck a ball 50 yards, and somebody can run underneath it. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I'd probably want to punch the guy in the mouth if I was playing on defense. I mean, seriously, you're going to say no? You don't feel responsible? You don't feel like you let your defense down? Yeah, you let the defense down. I mean, the proper answer, like Steve was saying, is I got to get better. I mean, that's the bottom line is I have to get better. I have to play better. I mean, the guy threw a swing pass that was 6 feet over the running back's head. I mean, how do you miss that?
A couple of times he did that.
I mean, how do you miss that pass? So I don't know where his head was this particular game, but it shows a lot about this guy's character and this guy's attitude. He's obviously extremely arrogant, is full of himself. I don't know which game he was involved in where he didn't feel he let the defense down. I don't know which game he played, but it's apparent to everybody that he didn't play well, and he needs to own that. He needs to take ownership of that, and then he needs to vow to go out and do better. I've got to be better. Receivers said they're frustrated. I've got to be better. When they're open, I've got to find a way to get the ball to them. I didn't get that done today. I got to get better. I got to go look at this film, and I've got to get better. You got to take onus of that. You got to take responsibility of that. When coaches go out there and lose, they don't go out there necessarily pointing the fingers at folks. Hey, we got to coach better. We got to coach harder. We got to look at the film, and we got to do a better job of coaching. And then they're going to deal with the individuals in their respective rooms and coaching those guys up to make sure that they play up to the standards that they're expected to play to. But that was that he embarrassed himself because the only person he's lying to, I mean, he may believe that, and that's a problem. If he believes that lie, then that becomes a problem. But everybody saw that game, and the reporter that asked the question for a reason, because he stunk, and the defense played very well, and they wasted that opportunity because they couldn't do anything on offense.
They could have been in first place in the division with a win. Instead, now they're in last. So that was a big game for them.
Yeah, that's how quickly things go in that division. What do you think, Jen?
I didn't see his post-game press conference, to be perfectly candid with you, but I did see a lot of stuff on social media that they are missing Sam. That a lot of Jets fans are missing Sam Darnold. So
they're missing Sam Darnold.
Huh?
They're not missing Sam Darnold. Maybe Geno.
All right, so Jennifer, so what do you think it did to his career, though? Obviously threw everybody on the
all I can say is, this is the most I've heard about it is from you guys.
Okay, fair enough.
Sorry, I've been playing for Thanksgiving. So.
Well, you and everybody on the planet. In fact, everybody's on this show tonight. More power to you. I know this is a tough week to schedule broadcasts. I'm thankful for everybody that's participated this week for sure. All right, well, I'll give it to you in a nutshell. Number one, what it did for his career, I'll give you three things. Number one, it probably will help him buy a book from Sigmund Freud to understand psychology a little bit, because obviously he's not very good at it. That's number one. Number two, what it did for his career is maybe when he goes back to Brigham Young, he needs a master's degree in communication, because he certainly isn't very good at that either. And number three, if that isn't good enough, you might as well stand next to Robert Saleh and say, no, you don't do that stuff. And I think he needs to sit on the sidelines for a while and have an opportunity to look at what's up, and needs to understand your press conference has got to be a lot different. Like you guys said earlier, he's not Joe Namath. He hasn't earned a cachet in that town yet to be able to get away with a press conference that bad.
Unfortunately, you sit them, you don't look at your options.
Right. Well, I mean, accountability for crying out loud. Seriously. I mean, if you can't take accountability, and hey, listen, I'll be the first to tell you if I haven't done a good enough job, I'll accept responsibility with it. We're all human beings, right? If things don't go well, we're always looking to get better the next time. The only way you'll never get better the next time is when you're no longer living. And I'm not going spiritual on anybody with that, but we all know that we can improve it. I think Mr. Wilson.
But here's the problem: you bench the guy, now you're killing his confidence. Obviously, he has some confidence, right? You got to have a sit down with him. You got to have a coming to Jesus meeting with him. I mean, that's what you have to do. You have to have a real coming to Jesus meeting with him. Let him know that yes, you did let the defense down, and I need you to write that 50 times on the board, so that you understand that you did let the defense down, and that you're going to vow to get better. You're going to sit here and you're going to watch film. You're going to work on throwing check downs. You're going to make sure you get the ball where it's supposed to be. I mean, they need to coach him hard. I mean, that's what they need to do. They need to coach him hard, because you don't have many options, and you're invested in this guy. There's a lot of people on the board that they could have drafted with the number 2 overall pick. They chose this guy here, whoever, whether Robert Saleh was a part of that decision or not, I don't know. I can't really remember, but they're invested in this guy now. Now you got to make this thing work. He played last year a little bit, got a little dinged up or whatever, I think. Your options aren't really good. You got some guy, I can't remember the guy, somebody I think. Mike White. And then you got Joe Flacco. Your options aren't good.
Right.
So you got to dance with the girl that you brought. And then this is the girl that you brought here. Now you got to dance with her and you got to make it work.
All right, Jennifer.
They're kind of known as quarterback purgatory as well.
What's that?
So I said the Jets are kind of known as quarterback purgatory as well.
Well, you know what? That segues, Jennifer, very nicely into the next topic. Okay. Thank you very much, Jen. Appreciate it. We know that you know how to segue well on 3 Chicks in a Pod, as well as Chicks in Salsa, which is what she's a part of with Candy. But with that said, okay, let's talk about the Carolina Panthers quarterback situation. But before I do that, I will say this myself, and I read it earlier today, that Matt Rule really endorsed Steve Wilkes to be the next head coach of the Carolina Panthers, and I think Steve Wilkes should get that job. I'll leave it at that. Jennifer, you comment on that, but let's talk about the Panthers quarterback situation. Baker Mayfield was bad. Will Sam Darnold be worse? All you have to do is the fact that the Panthers host Denver and 13-3 loss under Baker Mayfield. It went for 196 yards and 2 interceptions. But before you say anything, Jen, here's what I want to do. I want to go over a quote that I saw earlier that I think really is something to me that needs to be addressed, okay, by Steve Smith on Baker Mayfield. Why is he?
I saw that today.
Well, I know I read that too. Why is he saying I when he prepares, but in lack of execution, he's saying we didn't execute? I'm trying to calm myself down, but this 3-legged donkey that's playing quarterback, it's tough. Let me tell you, it's tough to watch. Steve Smith and Baker Mayfield. Well, that's loaded, Jennifer. So I guess if there's ever a time to lead off with you, Jennifer, let's talk about the Panthers quarterback situation.
So TJ's injured. He has a high ankle sprain, just so you guys know.
Okay.
Baker, Steve Smith made that comment because Baker made some comments in his press conference on Sunday. It was, like I said earlier in the show, it was until the last 4 minutes of the show, our game on Sunday. We were tied the entire game 3-3 until the last 4 minutes. That being said, our offense, there are certain players that I have known, certain tackles that I have known and I adore. And quite frankly, I've never seen them allow a quarterback to get sacked. I saw one of the tackles allow Baker to get sacked. And so that's not true, Dom. Wait till we play you guys. Just saying, keep pounding, baby. But we will but honestly, Matt Rule put us in a shitty position. I hope to God he didn't really endorse Steve Wilkes because I don't want him endorsing anything positive on my team. He was too much of a negative Nelly. He was too much of a bully. And I was actually thinking this earlier when we were talking about Saturday. I wonder if because we've seen so few college coaches do a good job that getting somebody like Saturday who didn't have college experience wasn't actually a stroke of genius. Just saying. But the our quarterback situation sucks. Let's not kid ourselves. Our O-line was built around one man who's not our quarterback anymore. Let's face facts. That's who it is, how we are. Matt Rule, keep the Carolina Panthers out of your mouth. Please and thank you.
All right, so one last question. Okay, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold will do a better job. Sam last season, before he got injured, I mean, he wasn't great, but he did everything and then some that was asked of us. We asked him. So, I mean, he tried. He had the guys protecting him. I remember when he got tackled in Atlanta, Shaq Thompson came out and said, we're going to remember this the same way we remember what they did to Cam. Don't forget, because we're not going to forget. Payback's up. So, and Shaq Thompson doesn't say stuff like that a lot. But I think Sam will do a great job because Sam
not a great job. Sam will do a good job or a decent job. But he hasn't practiced since he got injured against the Buffalo Bills in preseason. So, I mean, I think he's taken a few reps, but it is whatever. I'm seeing out of the Panthers what I wanted to see when Steve Wilkes took over.
Well, I can tell you right now, the Panthers have the rest of the season with 3 quarterbacks to kind of figure out what they have, if there will be any of them on the roster next year. So with that said, I'm going to turn over my resident running back, Mel. How do you size up the Carolina Panthers quarterback situation?
They don't have a quarterback.
Exactly.
The only thing that Sam, how I've talked about how I feel about Sam Darnold as a player before. It has nothing to do with him going to USC. It has everything to do with his production or lack thereof for the teams that he's played for. I mean, the only thing that Sam Darnold has shown me is he can't play and he can't stay healthy. Those are the 2 things that he's shown me. So he'll get back in there and he's going to get hurt again, par for the course, because that's just what he's shown us. He likes to hold onto the ball too long, and he's fragile. So they're in a bad situation. Unfortunately, Baker Mayfield, he is who he is. I was listening to some pundit. Oh man, I was listening to something that Colin Cowherd said, and I can't remember exactly what he said about it, but it reminded me of Baker Mayfield and Johnny Manziel. And actually, he was talking about the quarterback for the Jets right now that just has they want to do the spectacular, but they don't do the little things well. They're always trying to do the spectacular and just can't do the regular things well. That's the problem that the kid at the Jets has. That's the problem that Baker Mayfield has, and the problem that Sam Darnold has as well. So and that's why he always gets hurt. So they have a huge problem.
Well, you're saying they don't have a quarterback. All right, Steve, how do you size that situation up?
I'm really disappointed because I liked Baker Mayfield in college. I thought he was going to be a really good NFL quarterback. In fact, the Patriots were really high on him, Josh McDaniels especially. There was a lot of talk that the Patriots are going to try to move up and grab him, and I'm kind of glad they didn't now. I was totally wrong about him because I don't think he's turned into a good NFL quarterback. I know, his first couple of years, it seemed like they had a revolving door of offensive coordinators, which wasn't fair to him, but he just hasn't put it together. And I was never a big Sam Darnold fan. I thought he would turn things around in Carolina. It didn't work out for him. I think they need to dip into the draft this year and find themselves a really good one, because I don't think any of these guys are the answer.
Okay, Jordan?
Carolina, I agree with Steve. They do not have a quarterback. At least you have the next, 8 games here to decide if Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield is your future. Otherwise, I know you're going to have to keep one, just even as a veteran backup quarterback, because those are hard to find. But in all honesty, they do not have a good quarterback. Of course, we'll see what Sam Darnold does against the Broncos defense. If he performs well, then maybe he gets another start. But either way, I agree with Steve. You're going to have to go in the draft because Sam Darnold nor Baker Mayfield are the answer at this point.
Unfortunately, the best quarterback doesn't come out probably till next year.
That's true.
Drake May.
Who?
Drake May.
Caleb Williams. And I don't like SC, but boy, he can play. Man,
I'm telling you, Mel, I love Drake May. I love Drake May.
Where does he play?
He doesn't come out till next year either.
Where does he play?
You know what?
So I'd rather just keep on, honestly, get rid of Baker and Sam, keep PJ. PJ's earned it. Straight up. But I don't disagree. We don't have a quarterback at all. We don't have a starting quarterback.
The one thing I want to point out,
it's whatever. Y'all heard me.
But there's one thing that I want to point out, and you know what? I think Baker Mayfield, I thought he was going to take advantage of the fresh start in Carolina. That definitely has not worked out for him. In fact, if I read correctly, I think Steve Wilkes wanted to cut him about a week ago because of the injury situation. They had to keep these guys, had to keep all these quarterbacks with PJ Walker. But, the one intangible, and again, Baker Mayfield now has two places where it hasn't worked out. So it's not going to get any easier for him later. But maybe, just maybe, there could be a solution in the XFL or the USFL that we don't know about. So watch out for those leagues by the time next year comes before the draft, because you're going to have the XFL, I believe, starts in February, if I remember right. And then the USFL starts probably March or April. So it'll be interesting. Maybe there's a hidden gem somewhere. You never know. Yeah, listen, let's not forget, once upon a time, Kurt Warner was playing the Arena Football League, so you don't know where these quarterbacks are going to come from.
But how many times does that happen, Scott?
What's that?
How many times did that happen?
Well, it doesn't matter. All you need is get lucky once. But how many times does it happen where quarterbacks have come from other pro leagues and have done well, Mel? I mean, how many, whether it's Canadian League, whether it's the XFL, USFL, or whatever. Yeah, no, you're definitely not going to find it's one thing to find a coach over in a broadcasting booth, and it's definitely, you find a quarterback in the Arena League, stacking groceries. So yeah, that's definitely not the most conventional way to get there. But don't rule out the XFL and the USFL before you even get to the draft. So
yeah. Warren Moon came out of the CFL.
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you, a lot of guys.
That was a different time. Warren Moon should have went straight to the NFL, but
yeah,
it was a different time back then.
That's true. Yeah, no, he should have. But he ultimately made his way, even though it took him longer. But he's an iconic candidate anyway, so it doesn't matter.
All right, with that, NFL too, he's Hall of Famer.
Oh yes, no, hey, I met him one time when he was working for Turner. He was actually doing some sideline reporting for Turner. Yeah, Warren's good. I'm glad he made it to the Hall of Fame. When you consider how many yards this guy racked up in a lot of different leagues, to me, Warren Moon would be the equivalent of Shohei Ohtani, in a sense where how many hits you're going to, or not Shohei Ohtani, eventually him. I'm talking about Ichiro Suzuki, right, Jordan? How many hits you hit in two different places, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was definitely a pretty good analogy there, isn't it, Jordan?
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, now we get to the fun.
I know it's off topic, but he was unbelievable.
Oh, wasn't he?
He really was.
Yeah, he was.
I was at a Red Sox game probably in the mid-2000s, and we got to go down on the field for batting practice, and I was watching David Ortiz hit a bunch over the Red Sox bullpen, and then it was time for the Mariners to take batting practice, and Ortiz stayed out there. I guess he knew Ichiro a little bit, and he was telling him, don't hit that spray ball, go long ball. And he had at least 10 or 12 in a row over the Red Sox bullpen where it was like the crack of the bat. He was just launching them. And that's a deep part of the ball field. And that's when Ortiz was walking off, and he was like, he could hit 40 home runs easy if he wanted to.
Well, that marks the very first time that I've seen Steve talk about baseball. There might be potential for him in baseball. So. But that's think about it. This show can be heard, by the way, on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. So whether you're on the subway, whether you're on the bus, you're walking, driving, whatever, that's where you can get us on the audio side of the show. And, of course, if you're watching us while you're doing it through the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel, we also do this on Facebook Live as well as our Twitter account. The Twitter account that you can actually see it is at Tribune South Florida Tribune. And we will be expanding those platforms after the first of the year. So with that said, now the real fun part of the show, okay? We have 3 football games on Thursday. That's what we call it, a Thanksgiving special. And since Jordan, you're new to Inside the Pigskin, you get to lead off because I know that's an appropriate baseball term. You're all too customary, right, Mr. Long? So with that said, Jordan, Buffalo, Detroit, 12:30. Bills, and so we should point out the Bills' second straight game over at Ford Field. Boy, it seems like the Bills' home away from home happens to be Ford Field. So give me your prediction on this one.
I have Bills. I mean, it's hard to go against Josh Allen. He's not going to have another bad game. I mean, he's had a couple. He's not going to do that again. I see them winning by at least 10.
Okay, next game, New York Giants at Dallas, 4:30. Giants got hammered by the Lions, 31-18. No, it was not a single-digit game. This one happened to be double digits. Okay, Jordan, you taking the Giant plunge, or you taking the Cowboys to roll the Giants?
I have to go with Dallas. With what they did against Minnesota, I don't think this is going to be anywhere close. I could see this being a 2-possession game by the end.
Okay, last one, New England at Minnesota.
It depends on which Minnesota team shows up, but it's hard to go against Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, as well as Dalvin Cook in the backfield. If Dalvin Cook gets at least 80 yards, they're going to win this game, tire out that Patriots defense. So I got to go with Minnesota in a tight game.
All right, Stephen, turn it over to you. We got Buffalo, Detroit.
Yeah, I like Buffalo. I think they had a couple of hiccups, and now they're going to look to righten the ship and get back on track.
Okay, New York Giants, Dallas.
Yeah, I like Dallas in this game. The Giants didn't play well last week. Dallas looked unbelievable, but that's usually right when Dallas falls on their face, right? We've seen this before, but I'm going to go with the Cowboys.
Finally, New England at Minnesota.
It was funny. Until last week, I thought the Patriots are going to get blown out by Minnesota. But, watching them, they didn't even resemble the team, we've been seeing, Minnesota. So I think it's going to be a lot closer. I still think the Lions are going to hold serve.
Well, you're talking about Minnesota, New England. Who's going to hold serve?
Yeah.
Are you going Minnesota or New England?
Minnesota.
Okay. All right, Mel, on to you.
Well, people don't know that Thanksgiving, that's Detroit's Super Bowl. So, it doesn't matter who comes in there. We're going to, they're going to play hard. They got a 3-game winning streak going on right now. And, Buffalo, they've had a tough week here with all the snow. I don't know how much preparation they're going to be able to have this week with all the snow that they received over the weekend. I'm going to take Detroit to win that because, again, that is our Super Bowl. That's a big game for us. They get real pumped up for that game. The fans are crazy during that game, and so I'm going to go with Detroit.
Okay, New York Giants, Dallas.
The Dallas looked real good last week. Obviously, the Giants didn't look all that great last week because they lost to Detroit. But I'm gonna pick the Cowboys. As much as I hate to do it, I'm gonna pick the Cowboys.
New England at Minnesota.
Minnesota looked real bad last week. They have to atone for that, and I think they're gonna come out and take care of business and show everybody who we thought they were and thought who we thought would give Dallas a much better game last week. So I think Minnesota is going to win that game.
Okay, Jennifer, you're up next. Buffalo, Detroit.
Buffalo.
Okay.
You're welcome, Mel.
Yeah, that was your sleeper for the playoffs.
I know, but you know what? Every time I bet on them, they lose. Every time I bet against them, they win. So you're welcome.
I got your strategy.
You know what?
You're welcome, Mel.
I like your logic, Jennifer. Okay. It's very good logic. Okay. Giants at Dallas. What's your logic there?
Giants.
Okay. Oh, you're going Giants. Okay.
I am.
All right.
I think Cowboys will go in too cocky. They usually do.
All right. New England at Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Okay. I'll give you mine. Ready? Detroit, Dallas, and I'm going New England. I don't know why I have a gut feeling about that New England.
You said Detroit, Dallas, and New England?
Yeah.
Patriots defense has been playing really, really good.
And, I'll even take it a step further.
But their offense has been really, really bad.
Yeah, but you know what? I'll even take it a step further. If Mac Jones doesn't finish the job, I have a feeling there might be a Bailey Zappi sighting out in Minnesota.
Yeah,
never know.
I'm not so sure.
I don't know. We'll see. Hey, listen, we're not giving scores. The other
right.
when we were on Fire Up earlier with myself and Mark Mancini, we gave scores. I don't know about Bailey Zappa. I'm going to go Detroit, Dallas, and New England. All right, now finally our parting shots. Okay, Jordan, you know how this segment works, so give me your parting shots, my friend.
Thank you, Denver Broncos, finally cutting Melvin Gordon after his last fumble. Should have happened a while ago, but you know what? We had to cut him. You cost us too many games, and especially last week when we had a chance to go up 10, your fumble basically cost us 10 points. So thank you for finally, George Payton for finally figuring out it's time for him to go.
Hey, Steve, give me your parting shots, please.
Well, I'm going to go with the rookie from the Patriots, Marcus Jones, who returned that punt. When he was drafted in the 3rd round, a lot of fans and some of the media members thought Belichick wasted a pick on this kid They said he's a 5'8" cornerback. He's not going to cut it in the NFL. Well, he was probably the most dynamic kick returner in college football last year. And we saw how valuable that can be in a close game.
Yeah, I'm not so sure how well Belichick hits on players high in the draft, but he knows how to find hidden gems in the middle. That's for sure. Okay, Mel, parting shots.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to a parting shot is going to be Olivia Pachardo. She became the first woman to make an active NCAA Division I baseball varsity roster. How do I know that? I mean, it said Brown, so how would I know that? I follow Brown for whatever reason, and it popped up, and I sent it to my son. So I just want to say congratulations to Olivia for her groundbreaking achievement.
That's
Jennifer?
awesome.
Yeah, very good, Mel. I'm glad that you did that. All right, Jennifer.
You know, I just want to give a shout out to all of you guys tonight. I hope you have a very happy Thanksgiving, and I love talking with you guys every week. Sorry I haven't been here the last 2 weeks, but just that's where I want to go. That's my parting shot.
Well, you know what, Jennifer, you're a sweetheart. You're very much a part of this team, and I have a lot of great shows lined up, and you and I will have a conversation, have another role for you that you're definitely going to like too. All right, well, I have one parting shot plus a tribute to my mom, okay? And, you know, I very rarely speak from my heart because, you know, I just sometimes I kind of keep things internalized. But first of all, okay, my parting shot is kudos to the University of Virginia for canceling the final 2 football games. First one was Coastal Carolina, second one was Virginia Tech. Neither team was going to be bowl eligible anyways, but I'm glad that the higher-ups took it upon themselves to take, to me, the emotions of these students and these football players and realize there's something bigger than a football game. There really is. You know, these players need the time to mourn the loss of their teammates, and I'm glad that, you know, for a change, athletics took a back seat to something a lot higher, and that's more of a principal situation. So more power to University of Virginia. I've always admired that school in a lot of different ways, but to be able to do what you did and go through the trauma that you guys have dealt with over this unfortunate incident where 3 were killed and 2 were wounded, that's just bad, but more power to them. And I just hope and rest in peace to the 3 athletes that were killed and a quick and speedy recovery for the 2 that are recovering. And more importantly, peace to everybody in the University of Virginia community that you can get through this tragedy as quickly as you can, because you know what? It's just unfortunate we have to continue to deal with this thing, that every time you turn around, we have to hear about it. I hate talking about it, but I feel like it's an opportunity that we have to address those people that are just, that had their lives taken way too prematurely and obviously had a lot to look forward to. Shame on them. Now, Thanksgiving is a very bittersweet time for me. Okay. 2 years ago, 2 days after Thanksgiving, I lost my mom at the age of 78, days before her 79th birthday. She had COPD, not good. And I ended up going back to Metro Detroit for about 2.5 weeks during the height of COVID-19. Drove like 20 some hours nonstop to get there on a Saturday. And I had a chance to spend some of her final days there. And 2 days after Thanksgiving, she died in my dad's hand and my hand. And I had the opportunity to eulogize the woman. So pardon me for saying that as much as I look forward to the Thanksgiving game and the holiday, that I can't be totally vested in the whole Thanksgiving thing anymore. Never will the rest of my life, because I lost, obviously, one of my most important people there. So all you people that have lost important family members, I breathe you, I feel you. You know, we all do as we get older. So all I can say is during this holiday season, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and whatnot, enjoy your family and friends, because you don't know when you'll see them for the last time. And I don't know. I mean, for me to ever say that I'm at a loss for words takes a whole lot. But this is one time where I'm kind of at a loss for words, because to me, this time of the year will just never be the same. Yeah, I love covering the Lions on Thanksgiving. I love everything about football. I'm glad that I'll have a chance to spend time with my dad on Thursday. And I'm grateful for the times I have with my brother when I'm back home in Detroit. But I miss your mom. And I hope that you're looking down at this show. And I pay tribute to her on a couple of other shows this week as well. But I want to make sure that every show that I'm a part of, I'm going to pay tribute to that woman. Because the one thing I love about my mom is, every son and mom, we have differences here and there. But that woman was the most determined individual that I have ever seen, okay, and most resilient. And if there's anything that I can say about my mom, is I'm so proud that I was able to take some of those qualities and try to do the best I can to not only be good for people, but try to do the best I can at whatever I decide to get involved in, no matter what, win, lose, or draw. We all have to be accountability. So have one set of parents, enjoy them while they're alive. And you, four people, taking it upon yourself to join us tonight, to me, you are four of the most special, dynamic people, as well as everybody that we bring on this platform. I am so proud and thrilled to be a part of your lives and that you make me a part of yours. And, I love all you guys, and that's kind of where I'm at. So I don't have a lot more to say. I'll just go out there and give my South Florida Tribune stuff, and I'm going to turn it over to you guys the rest of the way. Folks, if you want to get a hold of, check out our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. You can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. I already mentioned the audio, but I'll do it one more time. The show can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. And please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune so we can give you all the updates, not only with the live streams, but the remote shows that we do. And last but not least, our Twitter handles out there. Follow us at Tribune South and South Florida Tribune. So, I'm almost kind of spent here a little bit, so I apologize to you guys for the way this show is about to end on a little bit more of a somber note. So please accept my apologies. I have to feel this way, but I'm kind of at it. Yeah. So, all right, Jordan, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
So you can follow me on Twitter at SportsScoop1, on the Sideline Sports Network on Mondays, which I think we're starting in January. I am on the NBA Carousel, hosted by Megan Price. On Thursdays during the football season, I'm on Alex Fleming's NFL Carousel, hosted by Eric Wilson. I also have a blog that I write Mondays through Thursdays with podcasts on Fridays. And I also have a show called Under Review that pretty much focuses on Colorado sports. Tomorrow at, I believe we said 1 p.m. Eastern time, I'm going to have Jen on so we can preview the Carolina Panthers versus Broncos game.
Keep pounding, baby.
And, Jordan, we appreciate you coming on here on our broadcast as well. To me, you're a class act in every sense of the word. So please don't ever forget and realize how much appreciated you are on this platform. You're a first-class individual. All right, Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at SteveB7SFG. I write for PatsFans.com for the past 12 years. I do a podcast with them called Patriots 4th and 2, and I do another Patriots-themed podcast called One Patriot Place. You can also find me on sandbox.com. I write about military affairs and defense strategy.
Hey, Mel.
You can reach me on all the social media at Mel Farr Jr. That's Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. Follow what we have going on down here and also up in Michigan, down here, in Georgia, and also up in Michigan at melfar.org.
Jennifer?
You can find me on Twitter at 3 Chicks in a Pod. That's Carrie Johnson created it, but she shared the administrative roles with me. Thanks, Carrie. You can also find me at Jenna Sherrill. You can find me on Facebook as Jennifer Matthews Lewis. I'm on Sideline Sports multiple nights a week. We have basketball Sunday nights with you, Scott. We have and starting in January, Megan Price's NBA Carousel, where I produce and I'm a commentator. And I think I'm going to be taking on more of the hosting duties this year. Watch out, Jordan. And then we got Tuesday nights during the season, Confidential. Not sure what time right now. Wednesday nights, I have Pundit, except for tomorrow night. Sorry again, Jacob. And Thursday nights, we have Alex Fleming's NFL Carousel. And, of course, on Tuesday nights, we have 3 Chicks in a Pod. And every other week, it's Chicks and Salsa. So it's just a lot of fun. So thank you, Scott.
You're welcome, Jennifer. And I love the tandem that you and Candy Eveling do. She is tell you ladies do an outstanding job, and I'm so happy that Candy's connected with you guys doing those shows. I should point out too, I'll leave the final word here that we want to thank Candy Ebling for everything she does on this platform, from posting the content and the broadcast. To me, without Candy Ebling, we have nothing. She does some unbelievable work. So with that said, we appreciate everybody joining us for our Thanksgiving special of Inside the Pigskin. I couldn't ask for a much better crew. You guys are just absolutely fantastic, and I'm so thrilled that we were able to hopefully put on a good broadcast and covered a lot of topics, the lighthearted ones, the tough ones, and of course the games. And more importantly, one last thing I want to mention is I want to thank everybody that was in the chat room for their contributions to the show. Everyone that chimed in, thank you very much. And of course, Dom DeRubis, you probably have Steve Ballesteri and Mel Farr in your rearview mirror because they may be committed to at least a Monday night so they can hear you firsthand. So on that note, I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving, and please enjoy the food, and more importantly, please enjoy the memories with your family. I'll leave you on one sense of humor line that I really, really like to go out there and say, and I am a cat person. Morris had 9 lives. We have to make the most of the one that we have. So on that note, okay, this is Inside the Pigskin. On behalf of Jordan Long, Steve Ballesteri, Mel Farr Jr., and Jennifer Matthews-Lewis, my name is Scott Morgan, Rock the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this show, and we will catch you on the next episode. God bless. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the family. Enjoy the food. Enjoy the memories, and thanks for joining us. Good night, everybody.